Welcome everyone, once again for another episode of Recovery. I'm really excited about this one because we get to talk with Mark McLaughlin. So my name is Alain Kapatashungu, co-founder of Frontdoor, and at Frontdoor, as you guys know, we provide top producing agents with insight that close deals faster. As I said, today I'm really delighted to speak with one of the brightest minds in our industry. He is a visionary, like in the pure sense of term visionary. He's a leader, he's an entrepreneur, and I'm just eager to hear his take as we continue to live through these difficult times that we all go through. So let's welcome Mark. He's the president of Compass, California. So first of all, Mark, how are you doing this morning?
Well, good morning and good evening, I guess, to you.
Yeah, it is.
In Paris, yeah. So
Absolutely.
I'm thrilled to be here with you, Alain, and I hope that everything is improving for you on a daily basis like it is here.
Absolutely. I really appreciate your time on this one. So for those of you guys who don't know Mark, I just wanted to give you a quick background in a nutshell. So prior to Compass, Mark was the CEO of Pacific Union International, or you can call it PUI, the largest independent real estate firm in California. So prior to selling PUI to Compass, PUI was ranked 5th largest brokerage in the US with annual sales of $14 billion. That's a B, by the way. And then Mark sold the company to Compass and joined the company in 2018 as its president in California. So California being one of the most dynamic residential real estate region in the US, Mark has just an incredible expertise, and we're going to see it later on as we're going to give us just some pointers and ideas about what's going on over there. So as I said, Mark is a leader, somebody that I just look up to, that I was really excited to chat with, that I've been chasing for the last 2-3 years. He was in Paris once, we missed each other. So I'm just really excited to have him on board today. So Mark, the first thing that I'm going to start to ask you as we kind of try to figure out what's next in this uncertain times, would you describe your typical workday during this pandemic? "Quote unquote" typical, but obviously.
Yeah, typical, yeah. Well, it's interesting that, it was March 15th when Northern California went into shelter into place, and Southern California followed about 10 or 12 days later.
Okay.
And I would say that there's been nothing typical about it. And none of us expected that we would be, into this 125 days later. It's just never crossed my mind. I was thinking 3 weeks. But having been in the business in 2008 and 2009 when we had the global recession, that playbook in most people's minds is pretty fresh, right?
Yeah.
Because it's scarred pretty deep. And at the time, the world was over leveraged, right? And so the deleveraging process took years and years. And this time, the world wasn't over leveraged. It was this invisible enemy of a virus. And so none of us really knew how long this would take. But it was a mad scramble immediately. We immediately went to all of our landlords and requested some sort of relief, not free rent, but just, can you push it out?
Absolutely.
We got 39% reduction in our rent roll for a 90-day period.
Wow.
We immediately took all of our employees to down 20% in comp.
Okay.
So that we could begin to weather the storm. And the typical day would be, I'm a morning person, but typical day would be, I'd be in my chair around 4:30 or 4:45. And I ate lunch and dinner at my desk at home and kind of tried to wrap it up at around 10 or 10:30 every night. Because just stuff was coming at us from everywhere. And we knew coming out of it that we just wanted more than our fair share. Yeah. We wanted to make sure that we came out of it way better off than anybody else.
Absolutely.
Not that someone had to lose, but we were going to hustle more than anybody else hustled.
Absolutely. Definitely makes sense. As I said, you are a leader. You lead the charge as it pertains to Compass activities in California, which is one of the most dynamic residential market. Again, like how did you stay on top of, not only because that's really interesting with you, is that not only you have employees, but you also have your agents and your customers. Like in these special times, how did you stay on top of those things as we go through these uncertain times?
It's something that evolved very quickly over maybe a 4 or 5 day period in first when we went into shelter in place. And as a management team, we got on a Zoom call, which none of us knew how to operate back then. And we talked about, okay, what do our people need? And to your point, people need leadership.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
They need transparency, and they want it to be communicated with in a business-like manner. Yeah. Don't tell me a story. Give me the facts.
Absolutely.
Right? And if you think about our real estate professionals, and we were coming to see you and on to try and sell your home, you're going to ask for the facts from the real estate.
Absolutely.
Right? So we decided that twice a week. Well, we decided two things. Number one, I was going to communicate with the company twice a day, every day.
Okay.
At 5 o'clock in the morning and at 5 o'clock at night in an email. Now, remember, my perspective was I was going to do this for 14 to 21 days.
Exactly.
Yeah. So don't I wish?
Yeah, it's been 4 months now.
So there was an email that went out every single morning. And then what we called the closing bell that went out every night at 5 o'clock.
Got it.
As part of the closing bell, twice a week, we published our actual new escrows, our actual closings, and our cancellations in PowerPoint slides for our people to come to your you can't go to your living room, but to use on a Zoom call saying, here's the facts, right? We booked new escrows, we closed deals, and here's the cancellation rate. And over time, we began to see the trends that the cancellation rates started to spike in Northern California before Southern California. And then we could lead Southern California and say, hey, you're going to begin to experience cancellation rates like you haven't seen before, until the escrows sort of calm down, where if you open an escrow in the middle of shelter in place, it has a less likelihood of canceling versus one that was opened in normal times, and then that scary stuff.
Absolutely.
So we continued doing that, plus every second week we did a Zoom call with the whole company, walking them through different dynamics and things like that, best practices, things of that nature. And we did all of that for a period of about 4 months. And there's two phenomena. There's two phenomena that caused us to stop it. One was people got really busy. Really busy. Yeah. And then the murder of George Floyd put such a paramount topic into people's minds that it seemed like completely insensitive for us to be publishing real estate stats in I think a racism movement that will be with us forever. Yeah. And thank God for that, right?
I agree.
So that was those were the combination of those two things is like, we got to stop this. We can't keep publishing like this. Yeah. But it was leadership, it was transparency, and it was facts. It gave them the ability to execute.
I love it because you, as I always, when I get the opportunity to talk, I was talking with my team earlier because I was just excited to speak with you, and I would just tell him that the thing with you that I feel like not only in your writings but also just in the way you conduct yourself and do business, I feel like you have you pretty much have the pulse on what's happening in the industry, which is awesome, because you just mentioned there that we had to stop. We couldn't just continue to publish stats, right? Because this is way beyond than just, talking about real estate. And I just love your understanding that's leadership. Again, it's just the capacity to know when to push for certain things and when not to retreat, but just to let certain things go. In order for just everybody to find maybe a new rhythm, maybe to find peace, especially in difficult times like this. So this is definitely interesting.
Yeah.
Awesome. Now, as definitely this is something that you must know, because when I look at when you started PUI, I think it was in 2009 when you take over to PU. I think it was in 2009, which is in the middle of a recession, right? So that's in and of itself is already something pretty interesting. And I just believe that crises have this capacity of just creating opportunities, because I was talking with agents earlier. I have that I've been fortunate enough to be able to reach some of them, and you just have two category of people. You have people who will look at what's going on as a complete obstacle. They will just stop everything and wait for things to pass. As you said, we were expecting this to maybe just last 2 weeks. It's been 4 months. And then you have another category of people, no matter what's going on, no matter where the tides are going, they will just keep on moving forward and find beauty and opportunities in whatever they're going through. Since you have that pulse that I mentioned earlier,
I like to say that there's two types of people in life.
Okay.
There are people that let life happen to them.
I love it.
And there are people that make life happen.
Absolutely, I love it. That's so true. That is really, really true. So what do you think, as a leader, as an operator, you get to have a complete sense of what's happening in the market? Like, what is the one thing that has been overlooked to you that COVID either accelerated or validated as an undeniable demand in the industry? This could be a product, a service. This could be just the way agents interact with their customers. What is that thing for you that you think that this hiatus just validated as a demand in our space?
Yeah, it's the things that really surprised me.
Yeah.
Were first the tenacity of our people, like the tenacity of our team that we are going to make life happen.
That is awesome.
We're going to do it with safety first, but we're going to make life happen. And then number two was the consumer's resolve and the consumer's passion for home.
Yeah.
And we have a saying that's ever so simple now, that if you didn't like your home on March 15th, you either you hate it now or you've already moved.
For sure.
Right?
That is so true, for sure.
And so the combination of the consumer's resolve, I mean, think about it. Wait, you want me to make an offer on a home through a virtual tour?
Exactly.
And after I get it in contract, then I can go see it? I mean, it's bizarre. And
absolutely.
And the housing needs have changed so much, because, this is not new news to anybody, but my home is now a school, a restaurant, a gym, an office.
Exactly.
Because if you're raising, my kids are, my youngest is 20 years old, and so I don't have young kids at home, but if you have young kids at home, COVID has been a challenge beyond belief.
Absolutely.
Two working parents, and maybe two kids, and 4 Zoom calls going on at once.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that I thought that was pretty amazing.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. That is, I completely agree with you on that one. Like, you just have completely new scenarios that you couldn't even in your craziest dream anticipate, and it just goes back again to this aspect of adaptability. Like, as you said, what type of people, what type of person are you, pretty much?
And then the parts of the industry that I think are going through change and has accelerated or pressed the change is obviously the digital side of our world. And especially in, like, we've always been able to, see videos of homes, and we've had great digital marketing, and we've had great, just tools like DocuSign, things like that. But the title, the transaction management, title, escrow, notary services, those have always been conventional. Yeah. And they've been pressed really hard to accelerate into the digital world. And I think that will give us a sustained benefit going forward that maybe we didn't anticipate. I
agree. I definitely agree on that one. It's the case in Paris, Mark. And I was talking with another agent in New York, and we were just exchanging some thoughts and idea about the deceleration we are seeing in both of our markets as it pertains to home sales. So you being, again, in that leadership role and position that you are, I was curious if you can share with us what's the state of the market in California, since you just have that pulse in the region. And I would love to do something here that I wasn't expecting that Mark did, which is just awesome. He prepared an incredible view of what's happening over there. So if you just give me a second so that I can share my screen, so you can just go through it as you respond to this question.
Yeah, and the first thing that's happened here is there's been a flight from urban to suburban.
Yeah.
Meaning people are really moving from the high density areas to suburban neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And then the demand for space, both interior space and exterior space, has skyrocketed.
Agreed.
A couple of other just simple phenomena, and then I'll get into this chart, is the markets that used to be secondary home markets, like in the wine country of Northern California, Lake Tahoe, Malibu, and the beach towns like Manhattan Beach and Hermosa Beach. They used to be really more secondary home sites. Okay. Now people are shifting and going, I want my primary home there, because if this happens to me again, I want to be in my dream home, if you will.
Absolutely.
So those phenomena, I don't think we could have anticipated.
Yeah.
So this chart, we call it the curve.
Okay.
We developed on March 31st, we put this out to our team so that they could have a sense of confidence that we knew what the roadmap looked like.
Got it.
We did, but and that they could also articulate what might be happening to their clients. And we did it in not really in precise numbers. So forget about the numbers, but look at the curves. And the light green line is our 2020 budget for closings.
Wow.
And this is measured in dollar volumes on the listing side.
Absolutely.
And the light gray line is what we did in 2019.
Yeah.
The gray bars in the background that are vertical, those represent our listing inventory. And the listing inventory peaked up to a little over 4 billion in the month of June, typically, and July.
Okay.
The red line is what we anticipated in March 31st, 2020, as to what our year was going to look like. So March came in pretty much on plan, which is the third month there.
Absolutely.
April got painful. You can feel it, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then we expected May to bottom out a lot deeper than actually happened. So the purple line is our update as of today, or actually yesterday. And the purple line basically followed that red line until we got to May, where we outperformed it. And that's where you go back to the consumer's resolve and the tenacity of our people.
Wow, that's awesome.
And about May 15th is when we were allowed to show property. I don't know what date that was in Paris, but that was a lot earlier in California than it was in New York, for instance.
Yeah, absolutely.
So once we were allowed to show property, you can see that purple line is just screaming vertical.
Absolutely, it's incredible.
June and July have just been unbelievably fantastic.
Yeah.
And we think we might outperform the purple line in August as well.
Wow.
And so if you're an agent and you used to close 10 or 12 or 20 deals a year, and you go and plot your curve is probably going to look pretty much the same.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
absolutely.
So it doesn't matter that this is a big number. It's just the relative shape of those curves.
Agreed.
So in March, we thought, wow, we have a shot at the spring season being pushed to summer.
Yeah.
And maybe hitting about 95% of last year.
Okay.
Well, now, if you look at the lower right-hand corner, our confidence is we will hit 99% of our closings from last year in the middle of this.
That's incredible. In the middle of a pandemic. That's incredible.
It's not. I mean, obviously, we expected something like this, but it's been pretty tenacious.
That's incredible. That's just incredible, and that's pretty much an incredible. Also, that's a great follow-up question, because as we were alluding to it a little bit earlier, so you have those two category of people, right? And there are people right now, as we speak, you and I, they are getting their licensed as agents, and unfortunately for them, the timing could be, well, let's just say interesting. So, what type of advice would you have for a new agent, somebody just getting starting in the business, and this is literally in what they're starting off right now? And again,
yeah. So Alain, I know I surprised you with this morning, but if you pop up that first slide there, it can be helpful. And this is an incredible industry for entrepreneurs. Everybody is really their own CEO. Compass has a training program for agents. It's called the Agent as a CEO.
Awesome.
And the journey in being successful in real estate is probably not that much different than most other industries. That it takes about 3 years of business development to begin to hit your stride. The difference is in other industries, a company is usually paying you through that 3 years, and here, you're kicking and scraping and scratching and doing everything you can to get by. So if these are the most typical business development activities, and they're not the only business development activities that a young person or a new person new to our industry would be engaging in, they're pretty diversified, and you kind of have to do all of them. As a CEO of a business, you got to be able to execute. You got to be on a nonprofit. You have to engage with your religious group. You might do some door knocking. You got to go to industry events. Well, if you go to the second slide, as part of COVID, none of these exist right now.
That is so true.
It's like, okay, well, I can get on a Zoom call with my nonprofit.
Exactly.
But if I'm new to that and I don't really get to engage with you outside of that 1 hour meeting, that's where the relationships develop, right?
Agreed.
So digital marketing, instruments like yours are so critical. We have basically we have print and direct mail marketing. We've got digital marketing. And then we've got, you want to work a sphere, you want to work a farm. Well, the only way you can do it is digitally. And so really what that comes down to is this last slide is for somebody coming in the business or someone in the business, the most important thing in your world is your CRM. It is your gold mine.
So true. So true.
Whether it's your sphere of 300 or 500 contacts or it's a farm of 300 to 500 homes in a neighborhood that you want to become the expert in. This is the instrument by which you execute your strategies.
That's awesome. Wow. This is please, when you look at this, just take a little bit of time to the slide and pause, because as Mark said, I was surprised about this, and just even to myself, like these are the things that I'm definitely learning myself as I see this. This is just incredible. This is great insight, which is what I was expecting chatting with Mark today. So this, we can stop sharing and go back to our conversation. This is awesome. Really, thanks, Mark, for putting that out, because I was expecting something really insightful, but not this insightful. So this is just awesome. And then the thing that I will like to know, this is more directly tied to you as a leader, as a CEO. Adversity. These are the things that we just face as CEO. And I always love to say that adversity is a great and fair teacher. And so what are some of the things that you have learned throughout during this pandemic as it pertains to stewardship? And I'm just mentioning stewardship because I was on your LinkedIn, and that word is so key to me, because it encompasses everything that you can think of, whether it's family, whether it's business, whether it's your finances. Like, how do you think have you been able to grow during this time as it pertains to stewardship in this crisis as a leader per se?
Yeah, so we exchanged an email on this a couple of days ago.
Absolutely.
And the shelter in place and COVID has taken some of our basic liberties away.
Agreed.
You and I we can't meet at a restaurant. We can't meet at a coffee shop. There's certain things we just can't do.
Absolutely.
And they're not things that we would generally want to give up.
Yeah.
And we want them, we desperately want them back, right?
Absolutely.
And believe it or not, taking away people's basic liberties creates stress.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're not, I love that Southwest Airlines commercial where, you're free to move around the country.
Yeah.
Well, not right now, you're not.
Not right now, exactly.
Yeah. And so you're not really even free to move around your neighborhood. So that creates stress.
Yeah.
And, two things come out of that for me is, number one, Monique, as a nurse, my partner, she's a nurse in the neonatal intensive care unit. And we had this long conversation about, at the beginning of shelter in place, like, hey, do you really want to go into harm's way every day? And the conversation went on for 20 or 30 minutes. And she said, Mark, if I was a fireman and there was a fire burning, would you tell me not to go to the fire?
Absolutely.
I'm like, okay, this conversation's over. Of course not.
So
then I said to her, okay, well then, this shelter in place is going to create stress. So you and I have to keep in mind that if one of us snaps at the other one, it's not about Monique, who I love, it's about the virus.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And so we came up with this, this sort of saying, which we named our blog after.
Okay.
Is this is where we are now.
I love it.
And you have to, in this environment, if you're handling this crisis better than the person sitting next to you, then I need to handle both of you where you are.
Absolutely.
Not geographically, but emotionally and intellectually. And
agreed.
My fear index may be way less severe than your fear index. You may take a far greater risk than I do. Well, as a real estate professional, I need to emulate that.
Agreed.
And so those were things that hopefully it's taught all of us.
Absolutely. That's awesome. That's definitely something that, because I get to also, here in Paris, I built this company Frontdoor, but also I'm also building it with my wife. So you have an incredible level. You just learn a lot more about patience, to say the least. So you just find yourself in places where, as you said, this pandemic took a lot of things from us, but also I think it brought really a lot of great things as well. Things like focus and just being able to. I just find myself being able to do more now because I'm not pulling that meeting. I'm not pulling to driving away, leaving the office and spending maybe 30, 45 minutes to go to another meeting. So you have to figure out Zoom, as you were saying earlier, which is still a challenge for me. But those things are really, really helpful. And I think once you find the balance, and by the way, where we are now, guys, I definitely encourage you to go check that blog. I'm going to put the link at the bottom of this conversation because it's just fascinating. You have Mark's take on not only just the industry but about what's happening internally in the company and how we communicate with them. I had the fortune to having a link a few days ago, so I was just, as you can imagine, I went through it and read one incredible post that he posted about what's happening for the company. It was through the George Floyd incident, and so it was really, really fascinating. So I will put the link down in the description so you can check it out.
Yeah, the other thing that this has given us is we can put 100 pounds of work into a 10-pound box now. Because
Absolutely.
If you think about it, 100 pounds of work used to overwhelm us because, as you just said, if I finish a meeting with you, I got to jump in my car and go 45 minutes to someone else. Exactly. Well, now, when you and I finish this Zoom call, we can dial in another one in 30 seconds.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So we get 100 pounds of work in a 10-pound box.
That is so true. I love it. Yeah. That will be the quote that I will make sure that I will get from our conversation today. I love it. So I think you kind of touched upon a little bit, Mark, but maybe we can go a little bit further. Like, for this pandemic, did you think that it forced us as an industry to maybe reimagine or even redefine how we get work done? This could be on an agent standpoint, this could be on our customer standpoint, which we touched on a little bit, but do you think that ultimately what we're going through will redefine how we do work?
Yeah, so I think there's two different categories of how it's redefining things. Okay. One is what we talked about just a few minutes ago was the the digital drive.
Absolutely.
Right? The related services to the transaction are being Absolutely. Pressed. Like we have an escrow company that we had to scramble immediately to be able to do digital notarizations and digital openings and closings and things like that. Even the county recorders in the state of California, there are still, well, at the beginning of shelter in place, there were still a handful of county recorders that couldn't record a deed digitally. And not everybody records deeds across America. But, it's forcing that digital drive. And then the other impact that it's having on the business is our people are becoming, inventive, if you will, if not heroic, meaning they are absolutely outperforming the model in terms of what's expected of them.
That's
and
incredible.
We like to say that, the good become great.
Absolutely. I love it.
And there's a separation. And the pretenders are going to fade away. You're either, I
love this one.
You're either. I got that one from Victor Lund.
I love this one.
Yeah, but it really separates the championship team from the people that don't make the playoffs.
Absolutely.
For lack of a better description.
Wow, Mark, you just got me there. You're now talking basketball, which is just my favorite sport to watch. So now I don't even know what I can do with this. This is just awesome. I so profoundly agree with you on that one, because this is my take. I've always believed that in times of crisis, obviously we didn't know, nobody could expect what we're going through, but I just always had this take. So I will talk to our customers and I will explain to them how being transparent and being truthful to how you serve them and how you serve your customer and who you are, if something happens, you can possibly be the last person standing. As you said, all the pretenders will be gone, right? Mm-hmm. So I just love the way you put that example, because I always had that in my mind. I will always talk and think about the fact that as an agent, as a broker, obviously transactions matter, but I just have this take where I believe if you focus more on the human side of things, as you said, they just outperformed everything you guys were expecting. And you can see in the result, by the way, based on the graph we just showed you and I. And I just believe that the ones who still will end up being standing at the end of this will be the agents that will really, really be focused on helping people find their homes. You guys have an incredible tag online. I don't remember it, but I think it's you're helping people find a great place or something like that to call home, which is exactly it. And I think if you don't have that, as you said, those pretenders, and you're already seeing it. So you're seeing a lot of companies and a lot of agents. We won't name names, but they're just closing shops and following everywhere, and that's just a testament to how you've been serving your customer. Again, it's just that level of transparency and truthfulness to what you do and who you are. So I completely agree on that one.
I think as an industry, we have to be really compassionate.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. In most parts of the United States, real estate has been an essential service since probably the end of May. Maybe not in New York City, but in most cities. And in the United States, our industry is one of the most affluent.
Absolutely.
Because by definition, we're selling homes to people who can afford them, right?
Absolutely.
And by definition, that is a more affluent demographic than the people not buying homes.
Agreed.
And it's sometimes really hard to think about. We have the ability to work, and the person who makes their living and supports children working in a hotel does not.
Absolutely.
And so I think that we all have a responsibility to give back a bit to the people who would love to be at work today. They love to put the pick in their hand and go to the hotel and serve clients, but they can't. And so,
definitely, completely agree with that. So this is. So going to cap it all off, something a little bit more personal. Do you have any personal goals coming for the remainder of the year? Any vacation plans? What are some of your business goals that you may have? I know that you definitely have those. Like, can you share what's next for you over the next couple of weeks and for the remainder of the year, pretty much?
Yeah, so Monique and I went to Jackson Hole, Wyoming
Awesome.
for a weekend about
Okay.
2 weeks ago, and while we were
Okay.
there, we rented a house,
Okay.
and we're going to go back and shelter in place from Jackson Hole, Wyoming for a couple of weeks in August.
That's awesome.
So it's just like you get a little taste of, remember the simple liberties that were taken away? Well, you get a
Absolutely.
little taste of liberty and, running outside and hiking and
Yeah.
biking. And so we're going to go shelter in place there for a little while.
That is
And,
awesome.
I think we're all anticipating, if I had the greatest goal that I could ever imagine, it would be a
Yeah.
vaccine.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would get all of us to be able to possibly return to some sort of normal. And
Agreed.
what that will be, I don't know. But if you think about the people who have really been adversely impacted by this, if that vaccine could come along,
Absolutely.
wow, that'd be a bell ringer for all of us.
Absolutely. I definitely agree. Wow, that must be an incredible change between Jackson Hole and San Francisco as it pertains just to your surroundings. That must be and pretty much night and day over there. That must be incredible. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I want to thank Mark for his incredible time. This is Recovery Episode 4, Quarantine Edition with Mark McLaughlin. It's in the books. You can catch this episode on YouTube and on all platforms streaming podcasts. And remember, in the recovery, don't just get back to the same place. Get to a better place. Guess who said that to me through our conversation? This exact man sitting in this conversation. So, Mark, thanks again for the time. This is something that sparked something in our company, and I'm just really, really grateful and honored that you have been able to make some time to chat with us today.
Well, I think it's fantastic that you do this for our industry, and it's one of your ways of giving back, and I certainly appreciate you wanting to hear my ideas, and I hope they're tangible to somebody.
They are for sure. I'm sure that we're going to have a lot from this, especially with the slide. That was just fantastic. Something that I couldn't even expect, didn't even ask. So I know it's been helpful for me. So I know it's going to definitely be helpful for some people out there.
Yeah.
So thanks a lot, Mark, for your time. And,
of course.
So I stopped recording pretty much. So I stopped recording. We can.
Okay.
Yeah, I really, really appreciate you, Mark. As always. And I really wasn't sure that you're going to be able to do it. So when you said yes, I was just so excited. And I just really, really, really appreciate what you've been able to build. I was living in San Francisco back in 2015. And that's where I first heard about PUI. So I followed you from there pretty much. And what you guys have been able to do. And then, that was just an incredible ride. I've been able to see you from afar. Never met you, never knew you, but I was just cheering you on. And as you guys went on and sold the company, and now you joined Compass, I just felt like I knew you, even though I didn't. But that was just that's how I feel about people just pushing the envelope and winning. That's just so exciting. As you said, just like in basketball, you have to push the envelope and win. And that's always exciting. You lose a lot of times, but when you win, it's really exciting.
Yeah, so I mean, here in COVID, our relationship gets better just spending this 45 minutes on the phone together. So
absolutely.
Thanks for your confidence, and let's connect again soon.
Absolutely, my pleasure, Mark. Have a good day ahead, and thanks really, really much for your time.
Of course. Take care.
Absolutely. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.